At 2 a.m., my boyfriend, Ethan Carter, rushed into my sister Chloe's bedroom, shirtless. He scooped our crying, hungry nephew, Leo, into his arms. With his other hand, he casually pinched Chloe's cheek. "How many times do I have to tell you? I'll soothe Leo at night. Stop trying to do everything yourself." Then he turned to look at me, the warmth on his face instantly freezing over.
"And you, Vivian.
"You know Chloe is still recovering. Why aren't you helping with Leo? Go make him a bottle of formula now." My fingers gripped the doorframe tightly. I couldn't say a single word. Chloe playfully slapped his chest. "I'm engorged in the middle of the night, Ethan. If I don't feed him, are you going to massage my breasts when I get mastitis? I am your girlfriend's older sister, after all. Watch out, or I won't let Vivian marry you." Ethan didn't back down. He reached out to tickle her waist, though his eyes remained on me. "Vivian, what are you standing there for? Go make some warm chicken soup for Chloe to rebuild her strength." Chloe laughed and shrunk into his chest. Baby Leo was squeezed between them, babbling happily. They looked exactly like a happy family of three. Since he wanted so badly to be my sister's husband, I decided to find myself a new one. I took out my phone, scrolled to a chat history I hadn't opened in a long time, and sent a message. "You once said if I wasn't married by 30, you'd marry me. Does that still stand?" The reply came instantly. "Always. Anytime." I quietly put down the baby bottle Ethan had shoved into my hands and turned to leave. Behind me, Chloe let out a soft gasp. "Oh, stop it, I'm leaking. Hand Leo to me quickly." Ethan, looking annoyed yet fond, gently swatted Chloe's hip. "How many times do I have to tell you? No breastfeeding. Your body is already weak. If you don't listen, I'll really have to punish you." Chloe covered her chest in mock embarrassment. Ethan didn't even look at me. He sat beside her, carefully patting the baby to feed him. He didn't seem to care at all that he was still shirtless. Without turning his head, he ordered me, "Vivian, hurry up and make Leo's formula, then get the soup simmering. Make sure it's perfect, or this little greedy cat here will find another excuse not to drink it." Chloe blushed, playfully pulling his ear. "Ethan, I think I need to teach you some manners today." Ethan's eyes were full of tenderness as he reached out to tickle her waist again. The two of them carried on, laughing and fooling around, with Leo giggling in the middle. Finally, he noticed I was still standing in the doorway. His face darkened instantly. "Why are you still standing there like a statue? Can't you see Leo is crying his eyes out?" I stared at them silently for 2 seconds. He was holding Leo, Chloe was leaning against his shoulder, and the three of them were huddled close. It was a perfectly harmonious picture. I turned around and walked out, opening the front door. A handsome face appeared in the hallway. Julian Vance was leaning against the wall, looking at me with a half smile.
"Wow.
Did you get kicked out of your own place in the middle of the night again? Come on in. Let me play the hero today." I followed him into his apartment. "If I remember correctly, this is the 9th time you've walked out, right?" I didn't say anything. I took the mug of hot tea he handed me and stared at the rising steam. My mind was filled with everything that had happened over the last 3 months. When my sister got divorced and had nowhere to go with her baby, my heart softened. I let her move in, but within a month, I became the outsider in my own home. On our anniversary, a date I had been looking forward to for a week, Ethan sent me a text. "Leo has a fever. I'm taking Chloe and him to the ER. Might not make it back tonight." I sat in the restaurant alone, staring at the candle for 2 hours. When I got home, I saw Ethan crouching on the living room floor, clapping his hands. Say dada." Leo opened his little mouth and mumbled, "Duh."
Duh.
Ethan smiled so wide his eyes crinkled, and he lifted the baby high above his head. I stood at the doorway, not even having changed out of my shoes yet. Chloe saw me and smiled warmly. "Vivian, I've tested him for you. Ethan is definitely a family man. He's going to be great with kids in the future." She winked at me as she spoke. I twitched my lips, but didn't reply. Chloe probably noticed my unhappiness. Her face stiffened, and she suddenly picked up Leo and started packing her bags.
"Fine.
"I guess we are in the way here. We'll leave." Ethan immediately stopped her. "Where are you going alone with the baby? Do you have any idea how dangerous it is out there?" Chloe cried, saying she didn't need his help. "I'm your sister's boyfriend. It's my duty to protect you and the baby. Just stay here. Don't go anywhere." Over and over again, this happened. The warmth in my heart turned lukewarm, then cool, and today, it had gone completely cold. Snapping out of my memories, I spoke softly. "Let's get married." Julian trembled. The hot tea splashed onto his hand, making him hiss in pain. But he didn't even care about his hand. He stared at me blankly, as if he had misheard. Are you serious? Yes. He set his mug on the table and nodded vigorously. Okay, we'll go to City Hall the day after tomorrow. I pushed open the door to my apartment. Ethan and Chloe were still messing around. You're basically a guy in my eyes. Who would even want you? Chloe joked. She puffed out her chest. Are you blind?
Ai va 36.
You can't see that. Ethan looked her up and down, purposely scoffing. Are those even real? Chloe pounced on him, hitting him playfully while he laughed and dodged. Of course they're real. Squeezed between them, Leo let out a burst of giggles. I watched them quietly. Eventually they realized something was wrong. The laughter gradually died down. Chloe let go of him and smoothed her hair. Ethan also sobered up and cleared his throat. I turned and walked back into my room. The moment the door closed, I heard their whispered voices outside. Shoot, is Vivian mad? Don't worry about her. She'll get over it in a bit. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. After what felt like forever, the door opened. Ethan walked in and sat on the edge of the bed. Vivian, it's not easy for your sister to raise a baby alone. You need to be more mature. Don't make things harder for her. I rolled over to face him. So, you mean I should come home from working overtime in the middle of the night and still babysit for her? Don't you think I'm tired too?
He scoffed.
If you're that tired, just quit your job. It's not like I can't support you. Besides, it's better if you stay home to help with Leo. I opened my mouth, but suddenly, I had nothing left to say. A few days later, Ethan had a college reunion. Right after we sat down, Chloe showed up with Leo in her arms. Vivian, I'm so sorry. Leo kept crying for Ethan. He grew up without a father, so he probably views Ethan as his dad. As soon as Leo saw Ethan, he reached out his tiny hands.
Dada.
Dada hold. Ethan smiled, taking the baby and cradling him expertly in his arms. He glared at Chloe. Why did you bring the baby out all by yourself? You should have called me, so I could pick you guys up. What if you hurt your back again? Chloe lowered her head, whispering, I didn't want to ruin your night. Ethan reached out with his free hand to pat her shoulder. Don't be silly. Seeing this, Ethan's old classmates started teasing him. Wow, Ethan, living the dream, huh? 2 beautiful women by your side. Not bad, man. Chloe giggled, covering her mouth.
Oh, stop.
He's just being a gentleman. One classmate leaned in and asked, So, Chloe, do you like guys like Ethan? Chloe stole a glance at Ethan and smiled. Him?
Please.
He's lazy and a glutton. The only thing he's good at is taking care of the baby. Ethan acted offended. Only good at that? Leo only sleeps when I put him down.
Can you do that?
I was just giving you a chance to show off. Chloe rolled her eyes. Oh, thank you so much then. Ethan joked back, making her laugh. They kept bantering back and forth, completely ignoring everyone else. I picked up my glass and downed the drink. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. I stood up and walked out. At the end of the hallway, near the corner, I heard those familiar voices. You've been working too hard taking care of Leo. Your lips are so dry they're cracking. Hold still. Let me put some balm on for you. My footsteps froze. Around the corner, Chloe's lipstick was completely smudged. Ethan was wiping his own lips with a lingering look. Seeing me, Chloe froze for a second. Then, she immediately grabbed my hand and complained. Vivian, thank God you're here. You need to talk to your boyfriend. He is so petty. I just teased him a bit, and he started lecturing me. Is it a crime to be a mother? As she spoke, her eyes welled up with tears. I said nothing. Back in the private dining room, everyone started playing drinking games. Chloe got super into it, but she kept losing. Soon, it was her turn to take a penalty shot. Just as she was about to grab the glass, Ethan slammed his hand over hers. Chloe is still breastfeeding. She can't drink. I'll drink for her. My best friend, Harper, slammed her fork down onto the plate. Ethan Carter, in what capacity are you drinking for her? The atmosphere instantly froze. Chloe bit her lip, her eyes turning red as she looked at Ethan with a pitiful expression. Ethan remained silent for a few seconds, then pushed the glass in front of me. I was going to drink for your sister, but since some people want to make a scene, you drink it. I picked up the glass and drank it all. Glass after glass followed. Chloe kept playing. She was terrible at the game, but insisted on playing, losing round after round. Every time she lost, she would let out a whiny, "Oh no," and turn her eyes to Ethan. And Ethan would just push the alcohol in front of me. Drink. I lost count of how many glasses I had. My stomach felt like it was on fire, burning from my throat down to my gut. The lights in the room began to blur, and people's faces spun. Their laughter sounded muffled, like they were underwater. I slumped onto the table, digging my nails into my palms to stay conscious. No more. I really can't drink anymore. Ethan frowned. It's only been a few drinks. Don't be a party pooper. Another cold liquid forced its way down my throat. My stomach convulsed violently. A metallic, sweet taste rushed up. I covered my mouth, but I couldn't stop it. Bright red blood seeped through my fingers, dripping onto the white tablecloth, blooming like morbid flowers. Oh my God. She's coughing up blood.
Quick.
Get her to the hospital. Right at that moment, Chloe suddenly clutched her chest, groaning in pain. My mastitis is flaring up. It hurts so bad. Ethan pushed through the crowd, bent down, and scooped Chloe up in his arms. He walked out with giant strides. He didn't even look back at me once. The car we had bought together carried the three of them away, disappearing into the night. Everyone else had been drinking, so no one could drive. It took 2 hours for an Uber to arrive. By the time I was brought to the hospital, I was already unconscious. The diagnosis: acute alcohol poisoning and stomach bleeding. The nurse went through my phone, found my emergency contact, and called him repeatedly. Finally, the call went through. Ethan's irritated voice blasted through the speaker. Are you done yet? Chloe has a 101-degree fever. Do you have any idea how dangerous mastitis is? If you have time to throw a tantrum, go home and take care of Leo. The nanny's shift is over. Sir, your girlfriend has acute alcohol poisoning and a stomach bleed. We need a family member to sign. What kind of game is she playing now? She sees her sister get sick, so now she has to be sick too? I don't have time for her drama. Beep, beep, beep. The other patients and their families in the ER stared at me. Their eyes were filled with pity and sympathy. The next morning, the ward door was pushed open. Ethan walked in and grabbed my arm roughly. Let's go. Go apologize to Chloe. She was worrying about you even with a high fever, and here you are, playing the victim. He pulled me so hard the foreneedle almost ripped out of my skin. Let go of her. The nurse rushed over and pulled me back. The patient needs rest. Ethan sneered. Stop acting. Get out of bed and come apologize. I closed my eyes and gathered every ounce of strength I had left to say, let's break up. Ethan froze. Then he let out a cold laugh and slammed the door. What kind of nonsense is this? Don't use that to threaten me. A moment later, the door was pushed open again. Chloe was dragging Ethan in by his ear. Vivian, are you mad at him? Chloe twisted his ear while winking at me. He told me everything. He was just in a rush to save me and accidentally left you behind. This idiot doesn't have a brain. Don't take it personally. Ethan tilted his head to ease the pain, groaning, ow, ow, but a smile remained on his face. Chloe let go and smacked the back of his head. What are you standing there for? Apologize to Vivian. Why should I? You what? Chloe stood with her hands on her hips, her eyebrows raised. Vivian is your girlfriend. No matter how you look at it, you were in the wrong. I'm telling you, Ethan, no matter what, you must put Vivian first. Do you hear me? Ethan nodded repeatedly under her lecture. Yes, yes, my little manager. Whatever you say. Only then did he turn to me, his tone lazy and insincere. Vivian, if this ever happens again, I promise I'll save you first. Satisfied now. After that, he turned back to Chloe, his voice instantly softening. You should go back and rest. You still have a fever. It's going to hurt again if you leak. Chloe wanted to say something else, but he was already holding her shoulders, gently pushing her toward the door. He glanced back at me, his face filled with impatience. And you, if you're sick, just lie down and stop causing drama. Getting angry isn't going to help you recover, you know? I smiled slightly. I'm not angry. Really? Really? Chloe let out a sigh of relief, a pleased smile spreading across her face. That's good. Don't worry, Vivian. I'll keep an eye on him for you. I met the wrong man in the past and got hurt, so I have experience. I'll make sure he never treats you badly. The smile on my face deepened. Ethan casually asked, what do you want to eat? I'll have someone deliver it. Don't worry about it. I'll just grab whatever. Go help Chloe. She has the baby and needs you more. Ethan paused, seemingly surprised by my words. I added, I'm used to it. Those words seemed to prick him like a tiny thorn. He froze, staring at me for a few seconds. Then his expression relaxed.
Good.
You're finally growing up. Well, at least you learned a lesson from this. He had forced me to drink for Chloe, glass after glass. I drank until my stomach bled, throwing up blood, and was left waiting for an Uber for 2 hours. When I was brought to the hospital, the doctor said if I had been 10 minutes later, even God couldn't have saved me. I almost lost my life. And all I got in return was, "You're finally growing up. If you can keep acting like this, mature and sensible, I might actually consider finding a good date to propose to you." Are you thrilled? I didn't say a word. He took my silence as being speechless with joy, nodded in satisfaction, and walked out supporting Chloe. The ward fell silent. I ripped the 4-needle out of my hand and began packing my things. 2 hours later, in front of City Hall, Julian Vance and I walked down the steps side by side, holding our marriage certificate. We ran straight into Ethan, who was holding Leo, with Chloe clinging to his arm. "Vivian Miller, what are you doing here? I only said I'd consider proposing, and you rushed to City Hall? Are you that desperate?" Julian reached out and wrapped his arm around my waist. Chloe's face fell. "Vivian, what is wrong with you? Marriage is a serious thing. You and Ethan have been together for years. How can you throw yourself at another man right in front of him? You are embarrassing our family." Looking at Chloe's self-righteous face, I smiled. "Oh, so you know that throwing yourself at a man is embarrassing? Then what do you call what you've been doing with your sister's boyfriend?" Her face turned bright red instantly. She opened her mouth, but not a single word came out. Ethan's face darkened. "Vivian, you don't even respect your own sister. If you marry into my family, are you going to treat my parents like this too? I was actually thinking that if you behaved yourself, I'd propose to you soon. But now it looks like we need to put that on hold. Go home and reflect on your actions." He finished speaking, lifting his chin, waiting to see me panic and beg for his forgiveness. Beside me, Julian pulled out our marriage certificate from his pocket and held it right in front of Ethan's face. "Who gave you the right to bark at my wife?" The crimson marriage certificate glistened under the bright morning sun, its gold embossed seal striking Ethan like a physical blow. Ethan's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. He stared at the names Vivian Miller and Julian Vance, printed neatly side by side. His brain refused to process it. Is this some kind of sick joke? Ethan snapped, his initial shock turning into a dark, ugly scoff. He reached out to snatch the booklet, but Julian caught his wrist in midair with a grip like iron. "Keep your hands to yourself, Carter," Julian said, his voice smooth as velvet, yet lethal as steel. He casually folded the certificate and tucked it into his inner breast pocket. "You're touching my wife's property." Chloe, who was still clinging to Ethan's arm, gasped loudly. Her face flushed, red, then drained, completely pale. "Vivian, how could you do this? You forged a fake certificate just to get back at Ethan? Are you crazy? Pushing yourself onto Julian just to save face." "Fake?" Julian chuckled softly, leaning down slightly to look Chloe in the eyes. "Miss Miller, if you have doubts about the authenticity of the Civil Affairs Bureau, feel free to run the serial number. But I assure you, Vivian is now legally, officially, and permanently Mrs. Vance." Ethan's breathing grew heavy. He glared at Vivian, looking for any sign of hesitation, guilt, or fear in her eyes. But Vivian just stood there leaning comfortably against Julian's shoulder, her gaze completely dead, devoid of the devotion, patience, and warmth she used to reserve exclusively for him. "Vivian," Ethan gritted out, stepping forward while clutching baby Leo. "Stop playing games. You're doing this because you're mad about last night, right?"
Fine.
"I admit I shouldn't have left you at the restaurant, but Chloe was dying of a high fever. How can you be so narrow-minded and petty?" Vivian didn't flinch. She adjusted Julian's lapel slightly, her tone as cold as
Ice.
"Ethan, you seem to misunderstand something. I'm not playing a game. I am married
To a real man.
a man who doesn't leave me bleeding on a hospital floor to run after another woman. You." Ethan's face turned purple. "You threw away 3 years of our relationship over a temporary argument. 3 years." Vivian sneered, a sharp, bitter laugh escaping her lips. "For the last 3 months, you were already living as Chloe's husband. I was just the unpaid maid and financial sponsor funding your little, happy family. Today, I simply vacated the position. You should be thanking me." Without giving them another second, Julian wrapped his arm around Vivian's waist and turned her toward his sleek black Maybach parked at the curb. "Wait. Vivian, stop right there." Ethan bellowed, trying to give chase, but Chloe pulled him back, whining in pain. "Ethan,
Ow.
my chest hurts again. Leo is crying." Chloe sobbed, fanning her
Eyes.
Ethan halted, his hands tied. He looked back at Chloe, then at the Maybach. Speeding away, a strange, suffocating tightness suddenly seized his chest. For the first time in 3 years, when Vivian walked away, she didn't look back. An hour later, The Maybach pulled up to the residential complex where Vivian and Ethan used to live. "Are you sure you want to handle this today?" Julian asked gently, turning off the ignition and looking at Vivian. His usual playful smile was gone, replaced by genuine concern. "You barely recovered from the stomach bleeding. I want everything settled today, Julian," Vivian said firmly. "I don't leave lingering trash in my life." Julian smiled softly, reaching out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind her
Ear.
"Then I'll back you up. Take as many people as you need." He snapped his fingers, and two large moving vans pulled up behind them. A dozen professional movers in black uniforms stepped out, led by Julian's personal
Assistant, Mark.
Vivian took out her keys, unlocked the door, and pushed it open. Inside, the living room was a complete disaster. Used baby diapers were tossed near the sofa. Chloe's clothes were scattered across the coffee table, and empty formula cans sat unwashed on the dining counter. When the door opened, Chloe was sitting on the couch in a plush robe, eating grapes while scrolling on her phone. Ethan was in the kitchen, awkwardly stirring a pot of porridge while trying to calm a fussing Leo. "Vivian?" Chloe looked up, her expression souring. "You finally decided to come back. Good. Go clean up the living room. It's disgusting. And cook something nutritious for me. My milk supply is dropping because of all the stress you caused me this morning." Ethan walked out of the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. Seeing Vivian, his posture immediately straightened into an arrogant stance. "So you came back," Ethan sneered, crossing his arms. "I knew it. You and Julian were just putting on a show at City Hall to make me jealous. Hand over the fake marriage certificate and apologize to Chloe. I might still consider letting you stay." Vivian didn't say a single word. She simply waved her hand toward the door. Mark stepped forward, flanked by 6 burly movers. "Clear out everything belonging to Mrs. Vance. Leave nothing behind." "Yes, sir." The movers immediately moved like a disciplined unit. They pulled out professional packing boxes and began stripping the house. Ethan was stunned. "What the hell are you doing?" "Stop touching my stuff." "Your stuff." Vivian pulled out a stack of documents and tossed them onto the coffee table. "Ethan, let me remind you. The lease for this luxury apartment is under my name. The deposit was paid by my bank account. 80% of the furniture, the OLED TV, the Italian leather sofa, the kitchen appliances, and even the bed you sleep on were bought with my money." Ethan's face went pale. "Vivian, what are you implying?" "I am canceling the lease today," Vivian said coldly. "The landlord has already agreed. You have 2 hours to pack your clothes and get out of my apartment."
What?
Chloe shrieked, jumping off the couch. "Cancel the lease. Where are Leo and I supposed to live? Are you trying to kill your own nephew and sister?" "That is your boyfriend's problem, not mine," Vivian replied smoothly. "He's not my boyfriend, he's your—" Chloe bit her tongue, realizing what she was
About to say.
"My ex-boyfriend," Vivian corrected with a terrifyingly calm smile. "Since he loves playing dad to your son so much, I'm sure he has the financial capability to rent a 5-star suite for you. Right, Ethan?" Ethan felt as if he had been slapped squarely in the face. His monthly salary was decent, but he spent lavishly to maintain his image, buy branded gear, and, recently, buy expensive gifts to coax Chloe. He had almost zero savings.
He
Relied on Vivian to cover rent, utilities, groceries, and even his credit card bills. "Vivian, don't go too far." Ethan gritted his teeth, his chest heaving.
We've
"Been together for 3 years. Are you really going to be this heartless over a minor misunderstanding?" "A minor misunderstanding?" Julian's cold voice echoed from the doorway.
He
Stepped inside, his commanding presence instantly shrinking the room. He looked at Ethan like he was looking at an insect. "Forcing your girlfriend to drink alcohol until her stomach bled, leaving her alone in the hospital, and bringing another woman to play house. You call that a misunderstanding?" Julian turned to Mark. "Throw their personal belongings into trash bags and put them outside the front door. If they aren't out in 10 minutes, call security to throw them out for trespassing." 10 minutes later. Thud. The heavy oak door slammed shut in Ethan and Chloe's faces. They were left standing in the cold hallway of the high-end apartment building. Around them lay 5 black trash bags stuffed haphazardly with their clothes, a stroller, and a few baby toys. Neighbors poked their heads out, whispering and pointing at the sight of a shirtless-minded Ethan, a crying baby, and Chloe dressed in an unwashed bathrobe. "Look at them. Isn't it the guy who is flirting with his sister-in-law every day?" Yeah. I heard the actual girlfriend paid for everything. Now she kicked them out. Serves them right. Shameless parasites. Chloe listened to the harsh murmurs, her face burning with embarrassment.
She
Stomped her foot and grabbed Ethan's arm. Ethan, do something. Call your friends. Rent us a luxury villa. How can we stay in a place like this? Ethan felt a surge of explosive frustration. He ripped his arm away from Chloe's.
grasp.
Shut up. Can't you see Leo is crying? If you hadn't insisted on acting like a frail flower every single night, would Vivian have gotten this angry? Chloe froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan Carter, are you blaming me?
Now.
Who was the one who tickled my waist? Who was the one who kissed my smudged lipstick in the hallway at the reunion? You loved it. You loved playing the hero while making Vivian look like a nag. I did that out of pity for you, Ethan shouted back. Because you said you were divorced and had nowhere to go. Pity. Chloe sneered, her sweet facade completely crumbling. You did it because you're a weak, insecure loser who loved having two women cater to you. Now Vivian is gone, and she married a billionaire like Julian Vance. Look at you. Now you don't even have a place to sleep tonight. Baby Leo wailed louder, terrified by the screaming adults. Ethan stared at Chloe, feeling a sudden wave of disgust. Without Vivian's quiet, grace, subtle beauty, and efficiency keeping everything in order, Chloe was nothing more than an entitled, hysterical, lazy woman with a mountain of
demands.
Ethan's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He snatched it out, hoping it was Vivian calling to apologize. Instead, it was a notification from his bank. Alert, your supplementary credit card ending in 4092 has been canceled by the primary cardholder, Vivian Miller. Immediately after, a second text arrived from his landlord. Notice, lease terminated. Please clear all belongings. Lock keys inside. Ethan's legs went weak. He slumped against the cold wall. All this time, he thought he was the ruler of their relationship. He thought Vivian was so deeply in love with him that she would tolerate anything, even his blatant emotional affair with her sister. He thought he could use the threat of never proposing to keep her obedient forever. He never realized that the only reason he lived like a king was because Vivian allowed him to. Without Vivian, he was nothing. Meanwhile, in a sprawling, breathtaking penthouse overlooking the city skyline, Vivian was sipping warm honey water on a plush velvet sofa. The penthouse was immaculately clean, scented with fresh sandalwood and white lilies. Julian walked over, holding a warm blanket. He carefully draped it over her shoulders and sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. The movers placed all your personal belongings in the master suite, Julian said softly, his deep voice carrying a soothing rhythm. I've already hired a private chef and a specialized nutritionist to prepare your meals for the next month while your stomach heals. Vivian looked at the warm mug in her hands, her heart trembling slightly. For 3 years with Ethan, she was the one who cooked, cleaned, scheduled his doctor appointments, and bought his clothes. Whenever she was sick, Ethan would brush it off, saying, You're a strong girl. Vivian, go take an aspirin. Chloe is the one who needs help. She had forgotten what it felt like to be taken care of. Julian. Vivian looked up, her eyes slightly red. Why did you agree to marry
Me today?
You know, my heart was broken, and I asked you on an impulse. Julian looked at her, his dark eyes filled with a tenderness so deep it seemed
To swallow the room.
an impulse for you, perhaps, Julian said softly, reaching out to gently cup her cheek. But for me, Vivian, I've been waiting for that text for 7 years. Vivian's breath hitched. 7 years. Since university, Julian confessed, a faint, self-deprecating smile gracing his lips. I was a coward back then. I left for overseas to build my business, thinking I had time. By the time I came back, you were already with Ethan.
I
Watched him take you for granted, treat you like a maid, and dim your light day after day. He leaned in closer, his thumb gently stroking her cheek. Do you know how hard it was for me to sit back and watch you waste your life on a loser? So when you texted me today, I didn't care if you were using me for revenge or escape.
as
Long as you gave me the chance to stand by your side, I'd take it 1,000 times over. Tears spilled from Vivian's eyes, dropping onto Julian's hand. Julian didn't try to kiss her or take advantage of her vulnerability.
he simply
Wrapped his arm around her, letting her lean against his broad chest, providing her with the absolute safety she had been starved of for years. Rest now, Mrs. Vance. Julian whispered into her hair. Leave the rest to me. I'll make sure everyone who hurt you pays tenfold. Over the next 3 days, Ethan's life turned into a living nightmare. Unable to afford a decent apartment on short notice, Ethan was forced to take his limited savings and book a cheap, cramped two-room in near the outskirts of the city. The inn smelled of stale tobacco and damp carpet. Ethan, where is the fresh milk? Chloe screamed from the bathroom, her voice screeching like nails on a chalkboard. This dirty hotel doesn't even have a warmer. Leo's formula is clumping. How can he drink this? Ethan, wearing a rumpled, unwashed shirt, slammed his laptop shut. Chloe, can you shut up for 5 minutes? I'm trying to finish my project for work. You're yelling at me? Chloe ran out, holding a crying Leo, her hair greasy and tangled. I abandoned my comfort to stay with you, and this is how you treat
Me.
When Vivian was here, she bought imported organic formula and had a warm water dispenser ready 24/7. Why can't you do that? Because Vivian paid for all of it with her own money. Ethan snapped back, furiously, his eyes bloodshot. Do you have any idea how much that formula
Costs.
$200 a tin? I don't have that kind of money to throw around. Chloe stared at him, her eyes flashing with greed and panic. What do you mean? You don't have money? Aren't you a senior manager at Carter Tech? I was relying on Vivian's team at Vance Group to give us contracts. Ethan yelled, rubbing his face in agony. Vivian was the chief designer. She routed all her corporate referral bonuses to my account. Without her, my company's performance dropped by 70% this month. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. It was his boss, Mr. Henderson. Ethan quickly put on a sycophantic smile and answered. Hello, Mr. Henderson. About the Vance Group contract. Ethan Carter, his boss, roared through the speaker, loud enough for Chloe to hear. What the hell did you do to offend Vance Group's new CEO, Julian Vance? Ethan's heart dropped.
What?
CEO Vance. Julian Vance personally revoked all 3 of our upcoming projects. Mr. Henderson screamed. He explicitly stated that as long as you are employed at Carter Tech, Vance Group will never cooperate with us again. You're fired.
Clear.
Your desk by noon.
Click.
The line went dead. Ethan stood frozen in place, the phone slipping from his numb fingers and shattering on the cheap wooden floor. Fired. He was completely, totally fired. Chloe heard everything. Her jaw dropped, and the pitiful, affectionate act she had maintained for months vanished instantly. You got fired? Chloe whispered, stepping back as if Ethan carried a contagious disease. You lost your job? How are you going to support Leo and me now? Ethan looked at her with pure bitterness. Support you? Chloe, you're an adult. Go get a job. Get a job. Chloe shrieked. I just had a baby. I have mastitis. You promised. You would protect me and Leo. You promised you'd be his father. I promised that when I thought I had a stable life with Vivian. Ethan yelled back, grabbing his coat. I'm going to find Vivian. I'm going to make things right. She won't take you back. Chloe barked, her voice shrill. She's married to Julian Vance now. He's a billionaire. You think she wants a broke, unemployed loser like you? Ethan slammed the hotel door shut, drowning out Chloe's hysterical screeches. That afternoon, Vivian arrived at the headquarters of Vance Group. Her health had significantly improved after 3 days of rest. Dressed in an elegant cream-colored tailored suit, with her hair styled in soft waves and wearing subtle, radiant makeup, she looked stunning, powerful, and completely renewed. As she stepped out of her luxury sedan at the corporate plaza, a disheveled figure suddenly burst out from behind a pillar. Vivian. Ethan rushed toward her, his eyes wild, his hair unkempt, and his suit wrinkled. He looked like a homeless man compared to the high-end professionals walking
Around.
Before he could reach Vivian, 2 towering security guards in black suits intercepted him, slamming him back onto the pavement. Let me go.
Vivian.
It's me, Ethan. Ethan screamed from the ground, struggling against the guards. Vivian stopped, taking off her sunglasses, and looked down at him.
Cold-heartedly.
Ethan, what are you doing here? Vivian, I was wrong. I was completely blind. Ethan sobbed, his voice cracking with desperation. Chloe tricked me. She used Leo to manipulate me.
I
don't love her, Vivian. I only love you. Vivian raised an eyebrow, a mocking smile touching her lips. Tricked you? Ethan, nobody forced you to be shirtless in her bedroom at 2 a.m. Nobody forced you to tickle her waist or force me to drink until I bled.
You chose her every
single time. I was stupid. I thought you would always be there. Ethan clawed at the polished granite floor. Please, Vivian. Cancel the marriage with Julian.
We can.
Start over. I'll marry you right now. I'll buy a ring today. Buy a ring. Vivian laughed softly. With what money, Ethan? You just got fired. From Carter Tech today, didn't you? Ethan gasped, his face draining of color. How? How do you know? Because my husband owns the parent company that holds Carter Tech's equity. A deep, cold voice chimed from behind. Julian walked out of the glass revolving doors, flanked by corporate executives. He wore a bespoke dark navy suit, exudes an aura of supreme authority. Julian walked over to Vivian, natural and possessive, wrapping his arm around her waist and pulling her close to his side. He looked down at Ethan as if looking at garbage. Mr. Carter, Julian said coldly. Public harassment of Vance Group's vice president of design carries severe legal consequences. Vice president of design? Ethan stared at Vivian in sheer horror. Effective today, Vivian is the head of our entire creative department, Julian announced calmly. She isn't just my wife. She is the backbone of Vance Group's future projects. Something a blind fool like you failed to realize. Julian looked at the security guards. Call the police. Have him arrested for trespassing and harassment.
No.
Vivian, save me. Vivian. Ethan shrieked as the guards dragged him away, his screams echoing across the executive plaza, drawing the laughter and scorn of hundreds of onlookers. While Ethan was detained at the police station for 4 hours, Chloe was busy, making her own moves. Realizing that Ethan was completely ruined, Chloe opened his hidden safe in the hotel room using the birth date she had memorized, stole his remaining $15,000 in emergency savings, packed her bags, and abandoned baby Leo with a hired temp nanny, attempting to flee the city. However, just as she reached the airport terminal, 4 heavy-set men in black suits blocked her path. Leading them was a tall, stern-looking man in an expensive suit, Chloe's ex-husband, Richard Jung. Chloe turned pale as chalk. Richard, how did you find me? Richard sneered, stepping forward and snatching the infant bag from her shoulder. Did you really think you could run away with my son, Chloe? Your son? Chloe stammered, stepping back. Leo is my son. Richard barked. You ran away with him 3 months ago, claimed I abused you, and tricked your naive sister Vivian into giving you shelter so you could leech off her boyfriend. A small crowd began to gather at the airport. Richard pulled out a DNA test and court judgment papers, holding them high for everyone to see. Look at this woman, Richard shouted. She is a pathological liar and a gambler. She accumulated $200,000 in personal debt, divorced me to evade her creditors, kidnapped my son, and tried to trap another idiot into paying off her loans. Chloe collapsed onto her knees, crying hysterically.
No, don't listen to him.
He's lying. Just then, Ethan, who had just been released from the police station after paying a heavy fine, arrived at the airport after tracking Chloe's location via her shared phone billing account. He walked into the terminal just in time to hear Richard's words. What? Ethan gasped, feeling as if a lightning bolt had struck his head. Leo isn't an orphan? You aren't a poor victim of domestic abuse. Chloe looked up, seeing Ethan, and tried to crawl toward him. Ethan, save me. He's trying to take Leo away. Richard slammed a stack of bank statements into Ethan's chest. Take a look at. You're innocent, Chloe. All those times she claimed she needed money for Leo's medical care and mastitis treatments, she was transferring funds directly to online gambling platforms. She used you absolute idiot. Ethan flipped through the paper. The transfers were all there, thousands of dollars, funded by his hard-earned savings, and Vivian's money went straight to illegal offshore casinos. You? Ethan's eyes turned entirely bloodshot. He grabbed Chloe by the collar of her shirt, lifting her off the ground, his face twisted in pure rage. You ruined my life. I gave up Vivian for you. I ruined my career for you. You disgusting, manipulative snake. Help. Murder. Chloe screamed, clawing at Ethan's face, leaving deep bloody scratches on his cheeks. The airport security swarmed in instantly, tackling both Ethan and Chloe to the
ground.
Baby Leo was safely handed over to Richard and police officers, while Ethan and Chloe were handcuffed together, screaming, kicking, and blaming each other like rabid dogs as they were dragged away into police vans. 2 weeks later. The Vance International Hotel was decorated in stunning white roses, crystal, chandeliers, and gold embellishments. Tonight was the annual Vance Group Charity Gala, the most exclusive high society event of the year. The media was out in full force, flashing cameras rapidly at arriving billionaires, celebrities, and politicians. A silver Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up to the red carpet. The valet opened the door, and Julian Vance stepped out, impeccably handsome. He turned and extended his hand into the car with the utmost gentleness. A slender, porcelain hand placed itself in his. Vivian stepped out, wearing a breathtaking custom emerald green silk gown, designed by a top Parisian house. A diamond necklace sparkled at her collarbone, highlighting her radiant skin, high cheekbones, and regal posture. The media erupted into a frenzy of camera flashes. Mrs. Vance. Over here. Mr. Vance, can you confirm the rumors of your marriage? Julian wrapped his arms securely around Vivian's waist, leaning down to whisper in her ear, "You look so beautiful tonight, my queen." Vivian flushed slightly, a genuine, glowing smile appearing on her face. "Thank you, husband." Inside the grand ballroom, classical music echoed softly. Business titans and socialites rushed over to pay their respects to Julian and compliment Vivian on her incredible design projects that were currently taking the market by storm. Standing near the service kitchen door, wearing a stained server's uniform, was Ethan. After being released from detention and blacklisted by the entire corporate industry, Ethan was completely broke. He couldn't pay rent, his credit scores were ruined, and no company would hire him. He was forced to take a temporary, minimum-wage dishwashing and serving job just to buy bread. He stood in the shadows, holding a tray of champagne glasses, staring at Vivian. On the high stage, she looked so bright, so noble, so entirely out of his reach. He remembered when she used to wear simple cotton dresses, waiting up for him at night with warm chicken soup, gently massaging his shoulders when he complained about work. He had owned a gold mine, but he threw it away for a pile of poisonous manure. Regret, bitter and suffocating, tore through Ethan's heart like a rusted blade. Tears choked his throat as he watched Julian lean in and kiss Vivian gently on the lips under the grand chandelier, surrounded by applause and cheers. As the event ended, Vivian walked into the quiet VIP garden lounge to get some fresh air. Ethan couldn't stop himself. He abandoned his serving tray and slipped past the security guards creeping into the garden. "Vivian," he called out, his voice weak, tremulous, and broken. Vivian turned around, her emerald dress swaying gently in the evening breeze. She looked at the pathetic, thin, scarred man standing before her. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice completely devoid of hatred, anger, or love. It was the tone one used for a complete stranger. Ethan dropped to his knees right on the gravel path. Tears streamed down his scratched face. "Vivian, I'm suffering," Ethan wept, slapping his own face repeatedly. "I'm getting what I deserve. I'm working as a servant. Chloe was arrested for fraud, and her ex-husband took the baby. I have nothing left. Absolutely nothing." He crawled forward, trying to touch the hem of her dress. "Please, Vivian, forgive me. Just give me one more chance. Even if you're married to Julian, I don't care. I'll be your secret lover. I'll be your servant. Just look at me." Again, Vivian took 2 steps back, avoiding his dirty hands. "Ethan," Vivian said calmly, looking down at him with immense pity. "Do you know what hurts the most about betrayal?" Ethan looked up, hopeful. "What?" "Nothing," Vivian replied softly. "Because once I woke up, you became completely irrelevant to me." "I don't hate you, Ethan. Hate requires emotion. To me, you are just a stranger who used to occupy space in my past." Ethan froze, his heart shattering into 1,000 irrecoverable pieces. "Total indifference," that was her final answer. Footsteps sounded on the gravel. Julian walked out, wearing an expensive wool coat. He pulled a plush white fur wrap and carefully draped it over Vivian's shoulders, pulling her into his side. Julian didn't even mock Ethan. He didn't need to. The contrast between them was already absolute. "Are you cold, darling?" Julian asked softly. "A little." Vivian smiled, looking up at Julian with warmth and love shining in her eyes. "Let's go home." "Okay, let's go home." Julian took Vivian's hand, lacing his fingers through hers. Together they turned around and walked out of the garden, heading toward the bright lights, luxury, and warmth waiting for them. Ethan remained on his knees in the cold, wet dirt, crying out into the empty night, his pathetic wails swallowed entirely by the dark. 1 year later, The annual Vance Group International Architecture and Design Awards were taking place in Paris. Vivian Vance stood at the center of the global stage, holding the prestigious gold trophy for Master Interior and Architectural Design. She was stunning, glowing with supreme confidence, and pregnant with her and Julian's first child, her small baby bump visibly hugging her elegant silk gown. In the front row, Julian Vance stood up, clapping proudly, his eyes filled with endless adoration. Beside him, Harper, Vivian's best friend, was cheering at the top of her lungs. After her speech, Vivian stepped off the stage into Julian's waiting arms. He pulled her into a warm embrace, kissing her temple softly. "Congratulations, my VP," Julian whispered lovingly. "Thank you, my CEO," Vivian teased back, leaning her head against his shoulder. Meanwhile, back in a dreary, rain-slicked alleyway thousands of miles away, a dirty, shivering man stood outside an electronics store, watching the Paris Awards broadcast on a display TV through the glass window. Ethan's clothes were rags. He was working 12-hour shifts at a recycling plant, barely earning enough to rent a basement room. His face was aged, wrinkled, and broken. On the screen, he watched Vivian smiling brightly, looking radiant and immensely happy in Julian's loving arms. A cold raindrop hit Ethan's eye, mixing with his bitter, endless tears. He remembered that night at 2 a.m., the night he chose to rush shirtless into Chloe's room, the night he pinched Chloe's cheek, mocked Vivian, and demanded she make formula and soup. He had thought he was the master of her fate. He never knew that when a quiet woman finally decides to turn around and leave, she will never, ever look back. Vivian had found her true husband, her true happiness, and her true self. And Ethan was left alone in the freezing dark, paying for his arrogance for the rest of his life.